I told you guys I'd show you a video on how to make your own refillable aerosol can for spraying, you know, like buying bulk WD-40 or something to that effect. You can refill it, you spray it out, you can refill it, you can make your own rust penetrating things, you could probably fill it with paint, you could do whatever you want with an aerosol can, and you can spray it. Let me show you. Here we have an empty can. This had carburetor cleaner in it, no paint or anything like that, so essentially all it had in it was acetone. So it's clean inside, and 100% of the air is gone. You know, I held it for a second. You know, the sides do dent a little bit, but I peeled off the sticker, made sure the outsides were really nice condition, no major dings or dents, so it's a good usable candidate. Okay, and what we're going to do is we have to make a port to be able to fill it and to fill it with whatever liquid we want to put in there and whatever fluid we want to put in there. So what we're going to use is a valve core, a valve stem, okay? And along with that, we're going to do a couple things. First thing we're going to do is actually remove the core. This is a core remover tool. If you don't have one of those, you can get the little special valve stems or valve stem caps that also have the little thing, you know, they sell these a couple different ways, but this is a handy little tool to have around. We'll pull out the valve core, and all we want is the brass tube out of it. You're going to take your pliers and you're going to hold it, and you're just going to burn off the rubber. You're going to get that nice and hot, and the rubber will just peel right off. You're left with this nice little tire stem with a nice long brass body. Okay, and then what we're going to do is drill a hole slightly larger than this into the side. And that'll fit right in, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to get this down to bare steel because we're soldering it. I guess you could do this with sandpaper too. We've got it nice and shiny down to bare steel. Make sure there's nothing rattling around, no metal little shavings or anything. Okay, and now we're going to do what's called tinning. So I'm going to take my torch, and I've already done it to this piece. Essentially what you're doing is you're just coating this with solder, and it just helps the solder flow a little bit better. So what I did was I took this, I dipped it in a little bit of flux, even though I'm using flux core solder because I want it to flow really well, and I just heated this up with the blowtorch until I got a nice thin layer of solder on the whole thing. Instead of being brass color, you can see it's silver. And now I'm going to do the same thing to here, but I have to do one extra step. The way these are sealed together, you have the body that is crimped on to this tube. This is electrically welded. This right here though, this little dome up in here, there's a little, they just put like a sealant, and then this is pushed down in and pushed out to hold itself inside here. So if we get this too hot, not only will we melt this plastic valve stem, but we'll also melt the little seal around there. So before we start doing anything on here, what I'm going to do is actually fill this with water. I'm going to take some paste flux, and I'm going to apply it around, and I'm actually going to try to get it on the inside because I want the solder to even stick on there if it can. And this is just basic plumbing paste flux. And the solder I'm using is actually just electrical solder. You know, it has lead and everything in it. And now I'm going to heat it up with a torch away from the valve stem and tin it. My surface is tinned. I got a roughened up surface. The solder's sticking real good, so that's a good sign. Now I'm going to take my valve stem right here, and I'm going to make sure it's nice and clean. And don't worry about filling up your file. If you do, you can watch my video on how to clean your file. But there we go. We're going to now apply this We're going to apply a little bit of flux to this because we want solder to run down this whole thing as much as possible. We're going to insert this all the way down. We're going to let gravity do the rest. And now we're going to heat it up. Still got water in there. Trying to pull it up, get in and make sure it's nice and built up nice and good there. But that's it. We now have successfully installed the valve stem onto our bottle. But now there's no core, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to, the water's actually cooled it down quite a bit. We'll let it cool down for a second. I actually took my valve stem tool, and it actually has a couple things like thread tracers and stuff like that that help clean up the thread. Put it on there, made sure my thing is nice and secure, made sure there's no cracks. I got a nice solder joint all the way around. Using the flux and everything helps it flow, but there's no pinholes. It's a nice surface all the way around. Now I'm going to reinstall my valve core, so I'll just set that in. I'll use my tool, reinstall it. We're able to put our sprayer back on. Now we have a thing there. Now I did look up online the PSIs that are in here, and I did test a brand new can of carburetor cleaner. The brand new can had about 80 PSI standard in it at 70 degrees. Now you got to remember that they way underdo it in case you leave this out into the sun in your 140 degree car, that it's not going to blow up because this will raise in pressure. So I did read an entire article on a company that was trying to recreate blowing these up in your car and stuff like that, and they said that they fail, the lowest cans fail at about 230, 220 PSI is when the cheapest cans will fail, and different grade cans fail at 300 PSI and even more. So stick to 100 PSI and no more than that, and you'll be the same amount that manufacturers are putting in from the get-go. I know WD-40's website, their MSDS chart showed they put in between 95 and like 105 PSIs into their cans at 70 degrees. I just happen to have an air gauge that also shows me the pressure. You can use just a standard little one, whatever. But we'll hook that on, and you can see the PSI. And it is about 85 right now is what's in there. Okay. No leaks, no hisses. And just with the air by itself, it won't last very long. But that's the basics. Now the fun part and the hard part is actually filling it. And to do that, you remove the valve stem core. So whenever you want to refill it, you remove the valve stem core, and you can get creative with funnels and whatnot. But one of the best ways to do it is to do it upside down, because this is right here, and this goes to the bottom. There's the hose that goes all the way to the bottom on the inside, so it's up there. So take if you get a rubber hose that fits directly over this and directly over the outside, you can bend it up, and then you can fill it, and at the same time you can be letting out the pressure, so you can hold it down, let out the pressure, and fill it at the same time. And you probably don't want to fill it more than about halfway, but I'll show you that in a second. So what I did was I had this hose that just fit directly over there, and then I had this little bottle, so I just filled up this bottle real fast. I had about that much PB blaster in a big bulk tank still, so I just plugged right into the end of the hose, and I just squoze it right into there. You can see it just floating right there right now, but at the same time I push down on that with this upside down, so it only took me, I'm going to say, probably about 5-10 seconds to put that much in, which is a good amount in there. I mean, this feels like it's got, you probably don't want to fill it more than halfway full, but it feels like it probably got about this much in it, about an inch and a half in it. So now I'm going to take my valve core, I'm going to reinstall my valve core, I'm going to hook it up. So we got like 90 psi in here. Wow. Sprays out really good. We can put a little straw on there if we want. Let's not waste it. Spray it back into there. I mean, that's... Oh, well. That's all I had in there. That was spraying out quite a bit. That's a pretty large orifice on this little needle, but that sprayed all that out in seconds. And it still got quite a bit of air pressure. You too can own a Super Spray 3000 yourself now. This one just happens, it's nice because it comes with a little cap and straw. And I do use the little valve stem cap with the little core remover tool on it, so I can flip it around if I need to refill it. Oh, this is for entertainment purposes only. I weighed my risks. It was worth the risk for me. It was entertaining. It's a fun little project. I can spray stuff that I want to now. And thanks for watching. Click the little thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed, you're just crazy, because that's just crazy. And leave me a comment below. Thanks, guys. See you soon. Bye.